Hey guys, it's Dorian. Before we get started, just want to mention if you guys aren't subscribed to me on YouTube, please do. I'm also over on Twitter at dorian.slash. Now, I get some questions. I see it on Twitter, on the forums, on YouTube. Which Linux distribution should I use? Or which Linux desktop should I use? Well, to be honest, that's like a perfect stranger coming up to you and asking you, what type of car should I buy? What type of shoes should I buy? I don't know. What type of car do you like? What type of shoes do you like? What do you need them for? What kind of driving do you do? Do you run? You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to kind of explain what the differences are in this mishmash of distributions, desktops, package managers, because it can be overwhelming if you're completely new. It can even be overwhelming if you want to switch. You've been using something forever and now you want to try something different. But first, I want to show you what is a desktop environment. Well, you're looking at a desktop environment right now. It just doesn't have any features. It's blank. Now, this is my basic Ubuntu desktop from my Linux from Scratch series, my playlist on YouTube. And I'm just going to show you, I've had a couple people say, well, what you built isn't really building a desktop environment. Well, it kind of is, because a desktop environment is what you're using. It's just built out of different components. So, for instance, you want a taskbar down at the bottom here. You have applications. So I have a file manager. What else would I want? Let's say I want a launcher. Okay, well now I have this launcher. I would like it to be pretty and have window effects. All right, well there you go. I want to have a background because I don't want to stare at a blank background. Well, there you go. So a desktop environment is really just what your GUI is, what you're using. You can use any components you want to make up your own thing and have it however you want. So if you're not into building your own, well, that's fine too, because there are plenty out there and there are plenty of choices. So I just wanted to show you here. These little icons are only a small portion of distributions that are out there that you could choose from. But each distribution also has its own versions of a GUI, a desktop, the packages you can get, how it works. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of these distributions. So let's say you're picking Ubuntu or Arch or whichever. So you make your decision, and sometimes you'll have multiple versions of that distribution. So Manjaro, for example, you can download Manjaro GNOME, which uses the GNOME desktop. You can download Manjaro XFCE, which has the XFCE desktop. You can download Manjaro Deepin, and it has the Deepin desktop. But basically, once you choose your distribution and you look into it more, then you get to see all the components that build up on top of it. So what kernel is it using? What bootloader does it use? Which Windows server is it using? Is it using X11, which has been around for a long time, or the new Wayland? And one of the things I find important is, what is the community like? You can, depending on how much time you want to spend on it, you can browse the forums, browse their websites, and see what kind of people are on it. For someone brand new, if you were to go with a pure Arch Linux setup, for example, you might get lost, because even if you ask for help, the help that you're going to get is going to be over your head. And then on the other hand, you have something like Ubuntu, who has like Ask Ubuntu, which is one of the Stack Exchange websites dedicated to Ubuntu, and it has tons of support. You can find pretty much any answer there already. If not, just ask and you'll get it. Software repositories. Each one, the majority, all carry the same software, but they don't. And they don't necessarily hold the same versions. Some may be a little behind, some may be very, very current and bleeding edge. And that also depends on which package manager they're using. So in Ubuntu, you're going to use apt-get. In Arch and apt-get you'll also use in Debian. In Arch and Manjaro, you're going to use pacman. In Solus, they have EO package. I don't remember what the actual name is. And then Gentoo has, starts with a P, I can't think of it right now. So then that dictates how you're going to use it. If you're using it in the GUI, it's not as big of an issue. You just open your software, your add remove programs, you search and whatever, and everything's done in the background for you. But on the command line, I find that some are a little easier to use than others. And the two big comparisons, because I just made the swap, is in Ubuntu, you just do a sudo apt install and then the name of the package. And if you want to update your repository list, it's sudo apt update and then sudo apt upgrade. You're using these English words. And with pacman in Arch and Manjaro and Turgos and all the other Arch-based versions, distros, it's not the plain English. You do sudo pacman -S and then the package name to install it. If you want to update, it's -S YU, which will update the repositories and do any updates. If you want just information on a package, it's -S and then the package name that gives you the information on that. So they all work differently. So you might want to also look at how the package manager works. But if you only want to use the GUIs, it doesn't really matter. And another thing with what type of package manager and repositories you're running from, you'll have the fixed releases and the rolling releases, which are two very different things. Check out my other video on rolling releases versus fixed releases, where I explain to it a little more. But basically, one is, as it's called, fixed release. You'll get major updates in a fixed amount of time, so every X months or every X years. And a rolling release, you're constantly getting updates as they come. So the next thing is your desktop environment and your window manager or your login manager. They usually go hand in hand, but you can mix them up if you want. It doesn't always work properly. But desktop environment, I'm talking about Unity, XFCE, KDE, GNOME, those usually come with their own login manager. You can change them. You don't have to use, if you're with GNOME, you don't have to use GDM. You can use LightDM if you want, or Slim, or anything else. But it's not necessarily made to run with that, so you may run into issues. So even once you get to this point and you're like, okay, I want to use this desktop environment and I like this package manager, this has a good community and all this works for whatever distribution. Each distribution will have its own custom look. So like GNOME won't look the same on Manjaro as it does on Ubuntu or on Debian or on Fedora. They'll all be tweaked a little bit with their own color schemes, their own set of wallpapers, and then sometimes they'll use a different, well, they'll usually use a different package manager GUI. And then there might be a couple of little pieces of software thrown in here and there that are different because they chose to go with that. So then you pick your Linux distro and then you make it yours. Then on top of that, you can make your own customization. So let's say you picked Fedora, but you don't like how they themed it. Well, you can change that. You don't have to leave it like that. But as a good starting point, you can just pick something. If you're just getting started, pick something that you like how it looks, and you're just gonna go with that until you figure things out. And then you'll go in and, you know, change your themes, change your icon sets and whatnot, and make it look however you want. So I have a few things here that I wanted to show. So this is Manjaro. Manjaro comes in a lot of different desktop environments. This one is the KDE. A lot of people like KDE. It's one of the more popular ones, and you know, it's your applications. It's the way it looks. You can do in KDE one of the things that they've always had, widgets that you can just throw on your desktop. So they have tons here. If you want weather, you want joke of the day or whatever, and you can move them around, configure them all. You can do a CPU load monitor. So it's kind of cool. I did use it a long time ago. It's a little bit heavy for me. I mean, I still run decent machines, but it's a little heavy on the resources. So that's another thing you have to take into consideration when you pick your distro and you pick your desktop environment and all that. So I'm going to, Octopi. So let's see here. This is their package manager, their own. So I'm going to shut this down because I have a few more. You can look on YouTube and you can find way more that I'm going to show you in way more details. I'm just giving you a little example here. And then I have here another version of Manjaro, and this one I installed a few different things. So Budgie, I showed this really quick in one of my other videos. It's new-ish. It looks okay. This is of course themed with the darker Manjaro colors. And the unique thing is it has this little tray that comes out the side, and you'll have your notifications here. Similar to GNOME. GNOME will have notifications in the top where the clock is. And I like it. I like that it has this search here. You can just type in whatever you want, and you can pin things up here. So you could just say pin to panel, so it will stay there all the time. And you can also, if you go into the settings, I'm not going to spend too much time here. You can move it to the bottom. So if you prefer having your things on the bottom, more like a Windows thing, or Cinnamon or KDE or Mate, you can also do that. So at least it gives you that option, right? The dark theme might not be for everybody, but again, like I was saying, you can change it. Which one is the lighter one? Just pick a light one. Give me a light one. There you go. So you can change how it looks, and the theme will apply throughout. So just because you picked Budgie, you fire it up and you go, oh, it's too dark, I don't like it. Well, you can pick whatever theme you want, however you want it to look. You can change all the icons, how they look. Change the background. Right. So now I'm going to log out. This is one thing I don't like about Budgie. The icons are very, very close together. So you click on the exit, and if you happen to go off to the side a little bit as you're trying to move up, it switches to the next one automatically. Not a huge deal. I just like how in GNOME they're grouped together as one big clump. So log out of here. And next one I'm going to show you. Let's do XFCE. XFCE is very lightweight. It runs awesome on old hardware, and it still looks nice. It's customizable as well. You don't have to stick with this theme. Like I said, all of them are. If there's things that you don't want up here, like the desktop switcher, if you don't work with multiple desktops or you just don't want that there, remove it, and you can add different things in here. Add new items. And the bar is on the top. I believe you can move it on the bottom. I haven't used this too much. One thing with XFCE I'm not a fan of is if I want to open the software center, I have to go hunt for it. I mean, it's right here. I know where it is. And but I can't just type software. I can't type get it or Genie or anything. So you'd rely more on, browsing through, finding your stuff, or just have a ton of shortcuts here, or, as you can see here, now that I have this open, I just wanted to show you having multiple desktops installed causes issues. One bad one back with Ubuntu was if you had Unity and GNOME installed at the same time, it caused problems. I wouldn't recommend it if you're just trying it out. I would try it out on a virtual machine first. So try it, make a couple of notes about it, and then delete the virtual machine, make a new one, install another. I mean, they're free, right? So just download the ISOs, try them out, give them a shot, and then go from there. Because like now you have theming mixed up, and it can be a issue. So log out of here. Unity is not around anymore, and I'm not going to load GNOME here. Unity is not around anymore. I think you'll be able to still download it from someone else who's going to pick it up, but Ubuntu has switched to GNOME, so you're not going to see it much anymore. GNOME is fantastic. I like it a lot, and one of the cool things is the quick snapping, which you could do on almost anything. While I'm doing this, I want to talk about the X11 and Wayland. Those are the two window servers that you use to display everything on your screen. Now, normally at that login screen, where I was dropping down and I was selecting Budgie and the different desktops on login, you'll also have sometimes the option of saying on Wayland or on X11. I believe now when it's on Wayland, it'll just say GNOME, and then you'll see GNOME on X11. So usually if you see both, the one that says nothing, so one says on X11, the other one just says GNOME, the one on GNOME will be on Wayland. If you see one that says GNOME on Wayland and the other one just says GNOME, then the one that just says GNOME is probably X11. I'm using X11 because the screen recording software available for Wayland is not very good right now. There's only one, and I am not a fan of it. And also the animations on Wayland, if I were to do this, it won't move around fluidly like that. It just kind of snaps from one side to the other. There's no animation. There's nothing nice like this. I'm assuming in the near future Wayland will pick it up, but for now I'll stick with X11, both for the animation and for the screen recording capability. Wayland works fine, don't get me wrong. I like it. I used it for a bit till I realized I couldn't record on it anymore. Other desktops worth mentioning. There's Cinnamon, and Cinnamon is found on Cinnamon is found on Fedora and on Linux Mint. And then there's Mate, which is also on Mint and on Ubuntu and Arch. But you can download these desktop environments on almost everything. I'm not going to say everything, but almost everything. And then this, what I was showing you before here, you can even change package managers. So if you don't want a certain package manager with a certain distribution, you could use a different one. It might not work perfectly. I've read of some people switching from one to the other. It seems like a real pain. You can do it. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're just saying, screw it, I'm just going to try stuff anyways, then hey, go ahead, give it a shot. And please post and let me know how that goes. But don't expect any help. So yeah, that's about it. I hope it helps with your decision making. Really, it's like I said at the beginning. Asking is like asking, what kind of car should I buy? What kind of shoes should I buy? Except with a car and with shoes, if you know what the person wants to do with them, you can kind of give advice. But with Linux distributions, it's very much opinion. It's you like it or you don't like it. I like how GNOME works. GNOME is my favorite desktop environment. Obviously, it's in all my videos. But making your own is also equally awesome. So really, if you don't like any of them or you just want something simpler, well, go check out my first video on how to make your own Linux distribution, or not distribution, sorry, your own Linux desktop from scratch, and pick and choose what you want. It even comes down to file manager. So I'm using Files, which was Nautilus, but you can also use, I installed a few here. There's Thunar, which a lot of people like because they have plugins that can let you do different things, and you can add custom actions to the menus and plugins that do all kinds of things. PCman FM. This PCman FM, this is actually what I use in my custom Linux distro, my super lightweight one, because it has this applications right here. So you can go in here and you can browse all your applications. So you don't really need a full-on start menu or full-on applications dedicated thing. Even though I can right-click anywhere on my desktop and browse my applications that way as well. But it's just another thing that I like. I can just open up the file manager and I can access and browse through all my applications that I have on my system. So yeah, like as you can see, I have Manjaro, and I do use Files pretty much all the time. But if I wanted to, I could use PCman FM instead. I can use Thunar if I want. I can use Dolphin. Dolphin is the file manager on KDE. If I install Dolphin, it's going to install a lot of dependencies from KDE because it normally runs on KDE and it uses components that are built upon KDE. So just be careful when you install, which is why it's nice to have a look at what you're getting into first before you go for it. So using your favorite package manager, or if you're really adventurous, using the terminal. So if I go here and I say Dolphin, File Manager, apply, it's going to want me to pick a provider. Okay, choose the backend. It will be installed first. Okay, so now this wanted me to install something else first before installing Dolphin. And as you can see, it has a lot of dependencies to install. I don't even think this is Dolphin yet. So let me just have a look through here. So this isn't even Dolphin. Oh, yes it is. Okay. So this is everything that needs to be installed with Dolphin. Total download size 34 megabytes. So that's compressed. So it could be anywhere between 60 and 150 megabytes installed. I think if I do it in here, let's just see if this shows me. No, okay, let's just go ahead and do this. Pick one. Okay, yeah, 130 megabytes installed. So it's going to download this, but that's compressed, right? So yeah, it wants to install all this. So always have a look when you're installing something and when you're removing something. Because removing something might force the system to remove things that you actually need. So I'm going to say no because I don't want Dolphin. But yeah, once you get into, you get to the point where you've picked your distribution, you have an idea of your desktop, or you can go either way. You could say, I want this desktop environment, I want Deepin. Then you can go from top down and then end up with whatever distribution you want. Or you can pick a package manager. You're like, I want to use apt-get because it looks easy. So then you can just Google it and say which distributions use apt-get, and then you go from there and you're like, oh, Debian does. And then you can download that. Oh, which desktop environments does it have? Oh, it has this and this. So yeah, I said on my Twitter feed, I posted this up, and it was, oh, my X server just crashed. I said, I posted a tweet, and it had multiple different distributions and how to update from the terminal. And I recommend that you learn how to do it because it's faster. Say, okay, so everything's up to date. SYU. There's nothing to do. Everything's up to date. Yeah, go on my Twitter and check out the image that I posted up. It's got all the different distributions and how to do the update in the terminal. Because if you go check now, I'm going to open it, checking for updates. For some reason, the GUIs always take way longer. And you could see, you just saw me do the updates. It won't let me do it now. Okay, yeah, it still let me do it. You can see how quick it is to do it in the terminal compared to this. But anyways, I digress. So that's it. I hope this cleared up the mud a little bit and helps you with your decision making. Just remember, don't focus on just distribution. Have a look at all these different components. The top one, not so much, not as important. I mean, you can change it however you want afterwards by picking a different theme. You download your themes and change it. So don't be too hung up on anything. And that's it for now. So if you like the video, please subscribe and like it, and follow me over on Twitter at Dorian.slash. Till next time.